Hi, this is more in the way of a video note or a kind of diary entry, really, than a full-blown video. But what I was thinking about was the whole idea of darkness and light as it gets talked about in some pagan circles and some magical circles. You often used to hear people in the pagan community talk about balancing the dark and the light, and how we had to integrate our darkness, and they were talking about something which was certainly relevant, but it always sounded a little bit tame somehow when people talk about the dark and the light, because they'd be talking about something which is actually very, very natural, night and day, sleep and waking, just really an idea of balance. But I think that if you want to look into things more profoundly in terms of reaching an understanding of light and dark as meaningful categories spiritually, you do have to go rather beyond that. The sense of darkness that people have, or the sense of darkness that people are pointing to, if they're pointing to something which is actually really significant psychologically and spiritually, is not going to be something natural. It's not going to be something of this world, and it also breaches the entire category of naturalness, and it breaches the category of nature. So it is in fact supernature, or infranature, if you like. It doesn't matter really, but the thing is, it's beyond this world. It's quite beyond it, and this is also in some ways where we get the idea of the darkness and the light also being, in some profound sense, what monotheistic and right-hand path traditions would have considered evil. So it's about good and evil from that point of view. From the left-hand point of view, left-hand path point of view, it's somewhat different. But I think you can see this divergence here. On the one hand, you've got the kind of pagan mainstream that looks upon darkness as being perfectly good and natural, and that it's just a question of understanding it. But there is actually a kind of darkness which is far more challenging, and which doesn't come onto the same category, and which isn't natural, because it belongs to an entirely different universe, an alien universe. And I think this is the sort of thing which we can be talking about when we talk about darkness and light. It's a category of, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure if experience is the right word, but it's a category which is beyond this world, beyond all the worlds in this world, if you see what I mean. So it has an alien quality to it, completely alien. It's unnatural, and it is most definitely supernatural. And I think this area is very important, but it remains obscure. It doesn't matter how many books have been written, and especially how many sort of like Magic 101 books have been written. This area remains obscure, but it's an area which is not far away from people. We're kind of enmeshed in it all the time in various oblique ways. But it comes through. It comes through in the in-betweenness. It comes through kind of in the cracks and in the points in between. There's a very uncanny quality to it. And there's the quality of transcending time and of involving the interaction of alternate realities multiple realities. I think in many ways you have to acknowledge that this is stuff which has a moral quality to it. Not from a left-hand path point of view, but from a mainstream point of view. It transgresses moral categories in some sense, because of its nature. It can't be contained in that way. It can't be controlled in that way. So this again is part of the darkness, and I think one of the mistakes that people make at the rudimentary level, in terms of the more pagan side of investigating magic, is that they kind of treat it like everything is kind of ultimately really rather nice in the garden, and it's all fine and there's nothing really to fear. Well, fear is definitely not something you should engage in. Yeah, well, I don't think so anyway. It's not something it's something which you need to get a handle on. But the idea that, you know, everything is really essentially nice and it's all a nice system and it all works beautifully and everything is natural and basically everything you deal with is part of nature. Well, if you include multiple realities which are quite alien to this one, then that kind of could be true. But that's not what anybody means by nature. There are realities which, in our interaction with them, are profoundly disturbing and are profoundly magical and transformative, but you know, not in a kind of like holistic sense. This isn't really about holism. It's part of the area of black magic. It's part of the area of a kind of transcendent black magic, in a sense. Now, as I've pointed to in some of the other videos, I think the sphere of Darth is extremely important in all this whole thing. I think the Qliphoth and the reverse side of the Tree of Life are important in this thing. The number 11 is important in this thing, which is the number of magic, in fact. But the whole point here is that we have a very different scheme. It's not the scheme of the mystics. It's not the scheme of right-hand path religion. It has a quite different goal. It has a quite different way of working, and we're looking towards mastery and power and awareness, and knowledge and fulfillment and gratification, and we are looking towards exploration and to self-actualization, self-deification, self-realization. We're not looking towards oneness with God or anything like that, yeah? We're not looking towards the kind of engulfment by this universe, you know, in a kind of beatific, almost maternal bliss. We are looking towards ourselves, really, and we're looking towards the position of the Magus. And so in this way, Kether is not the crown, but Darth is the crown of the system. Darth is the gateway, and this holds the key to the whole thing. But when we talk about light and dark, we're not just talking about two sides of a natural phenomenon, which those silly monotheists have got mixed up and treated as moral categories. That's not what it's about. It's something much more profound than that. It's something a lot more challenging than that. It's something a lot more potentially empowering and transformative than that. It isn't just a question of silly monotheists getting all mixed up. Yeah, a lot of the pagans haven't got a handle on this at all, I don't think. I think they really don't get it, because in here is stuff which really would be considered evil by some people. It's not, but inevitably it will be seen as such. and what it is really is profoundly unnatural to this world, but it is most certainly part of total reality. And this is something which we have a relationship with. It's dealt with in art. It inspires art. It comes through in art. It comes through in poetry. It comes through in various people's experience. In any case, people find themselves in this stuff all the time. They find themselves confronted with it in all sorts of situations. But it's not the stuff of conventional mysticism. It's got more in common with art, really, than it has with mysticism, and certainly more in common with art than it does with religion. Anyway, those are my ramblings for today, and that's it.